Tesla's full self-driving beta is out there in the wild to a select amount of people. Not all of us have access to it yet, but we're getting plenty of videos and footage from people that are using it. But there are still a lot of questions that I'm being asked in the comments on my videos and that I'm seeing around the internet. So today I wanted to take a look at those questions and get those answered for you. Let's check them out. If you end up enjoying this video, please hit like and get subscribed. So one of the questions I'm seeing pretty frequently, more in relation to the last video that I posted, is there's a point in the video where the car makes a lane change in the middle of an intersection. And a lot of people pointed out that that is illegal in their state. If they're from the US, that's an illegal move and you're not supposed to do that. And they're going, whoa, this thing's already breaking the law, what's going on? Well, first of all, the first thing we need to address is, again, this is the full self-driving beta. It's not done. It'll never be done. It's probably always going to be getting improvements, but it's so not done that, like we said, there's only a very limited amount of people who are using it. And those people signed some kind of agreements. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen them myself. But they signed something with Tesla to say that they're going to be extra careful. They're really going to be paying attention because, again, it's not finished. So we will continue to see weird maneuvers like this where it's breaking the law or just doing things that are weird to us or things it's not supposed to do. And then adding on to that question, people say, you know, in some states in the US, that's illegal. In some, it's not. How is it going to handle that? Is it going to be able to follow the law in different areas? And the answer is most definitely going to be yes. We already have a pretty good example of this. If you look at Navigate on Autopilot full self-driving package in Europe versus what the public has in the US, it is not nearly as good as the version in the US, and that is because of local regulations from the EU that have stipulations on how long the turn signal can be on before the car will make its own lane change maneuver, how many degrees or how hard it can turn the steering wheel. Things like that are different in Europe. So somebody in Europe can have the exact same spec car as me, but my car will perform better on the highway because of those local regulations. So Tesla, of course, will know where the car is driving at the time. It will most definitely be able to follow local laws as long as, of course, Tesla puts that into the data set and makes sure the car behaves in that way. The next question mentions a fatality if the car causes some type of accident and somebody dies. They talk about, is everybody who led up to that software being completed going to be responsible, that whole chain? And that's pretty dark, and I don't have a great answer for you on exactly that question, but it does relate to a way we'll know full autonomy is actually here. Once I am no longer paying for insurance for the car and responsible for the car, once Tesla finally says, all right, we are covering the insurance when you have full self-driving on, that's when you know full autonomy is actually here. The companies that develop this full autonomy, again, if I am not in control at all, so not what we have today, but let's say level 5 autonomy, which it could be a year away or it could be 20 years away, whatever you want to argue about in the comments, once we get that, where Tesla says, okay, you turned on your level 5 full self-driving, your insurance isn't involved anymore, our insurance is. That's how we're going to know that that level 5 is here. Once companies start offering that, once they take the liability and take the responsibility for the actions of the vehicle, that's when you know true full self-driving is here. Until then, if my insurance is responsible, if I'm responsible, even while autopilot or full self-driving or whatever is engaged, it means it's not fully responsible. It means Tesla hasn't said, all right, the car's doing everything, you're out of the equation. I will have to acknowledge that I am still part of that equation when my insurance and myself are responsible and involved. There is the debate on how is a self-driving car supposed to decide how to get into an accident. You always see these things about if there's a wall or an old person, should the car run into the wall and kill the driver or run over the old person? And those are really dark things to think about. But technically, I guess a scenario similar to that could happen. And how's the car going to handle it? I have no idea. I don't know how to answer that. And I would guess that Tesla and most others don't have much of an answer for that either. Has anyone mentioned if autopark has improved? And no, not really. I haven't seen very many autopark tests. But again, a lot of these questions and this question go back to it's not done. This is not released. So when it's actually released and actually done, is Smart Summon going to be better? We can almost be sure that it's going to be much better than it is today, but it doesn't seem like it is now, and that's okay because it's not finished and it hasn't rolled out to everybody yet. You can even see the beta users are getting this new UI in their cars. They didn't have that initially on the beta, and so the beta is getting better even for the beta testers before it comes out to everybody. And this new UI looks kind of like what we saw might be on the Cybertruck, which is really exciting. But of course, like Teslas do, things will continue to improve over time and get better and better. The next question is about if you have to keep your hands on the wheel in this full self-driving beta, and the answer is absolutely yes, you do. The nag that people call it has not changed really. You still have to keep your hand on the wheel. It'll check in with you every 10 to 30 seconds, depending on things like speed. I'm just guessing here, this is how it works today in my car. If you're going slower, you can get away, I've noticed, with about 60 seconds or so without touching the wheel before it starts bugging you. And in this one, it seems to be about the same, maybe even bugs you a little bit more. Videos showing the car driving on city streets, the blue is flashing quite often on there, and they just need to give the wheel a little jiggle or touch a scroll wheel or something. And the idea right now with autopilot is you just keep your hand on the wheel, and this is how I drive when I'm on the highway. I just leave my hand on the wheel, and the dead weight of my hand makes it so the car knows I'm paying attention, and I never have to do anything. Well, now with the city driving, it's kind of weird because the car's going to turn, and so the wheel, could be doing big turns. You can't really keep your hand on the wheel while it's doing that, or you may turn off autopilot. So during turns and things, people will take their hands off the wheel, kind of wait, and then when the turn is done, they'll put their hand back on or remind the car that they're paying attention and that they're there. So as of now, that hasn't changed. And without big leaps in performance and also regulations most likely are going to be involved in this, I don't expect that to go away anytime soon. That's Tesla's current way of making sure the driver is paying attention. And there have been rumors that the camera will be used soon, in the Model 3 and Model Y at least, because the S and X don't have that interior camera. But we don't have any indication that that's coming soon, or when, or if it will actually ever come at all. So for now, yes, we are still touching the steering wheel to tell the car we're paying attention. Is everything processed locally? So yes, the car is using the cameras on the car, and it's using that hardware 3 chip with the neural nets in the car, on the actual car, to look at everything around and process all the data right there on the car. Now, for improvements for the car to get better, let's say you go through an intersection and the car does a terrible job, most likely, unless you just get lucky or something, the car is going to continue to do a terrible job until you get a software update. Now, there have been some indications, and this is getting a little rumory and most likely not true, but some indications that the cars are getting better without an actual software update, and there's something else going on in the background, but I don't want to get too into that because I don't know, and most people are disputing that. Some people say it's possible, but for the most part, the car does, yes, process everything locally on the car, but to get new updates and new upgrades and become better at what it's doing, it needs a full update, a full software update from Tesla to get new abilities and to fix any bugs that it has. Does the car change lanes entirely on its own, or does the person have to use the turn signal in this full self-driving beta? And the answer is the car is doing everything that you're seeing in these videos, everything. The car is turning on the turn signal, it's changing lanes, it's turning off the turn signal, it's turning right, it's turning left, it's stopping at red lights, it's going at green lights without a lead car. It's doing everything. It's going around roundabouts, and it's not doing it all perfectly yet, but it's doing a pretty good job, and it's insanely impressive and crazy to see this stuff. A few months ago, I wouldn't have guessed this was coming like today, like now, that it's here. And again, we don't all have it, but that multiple people out there in the world have it is pretty crazy, and it's really impressive. But when you're watching these videos, a lot of the people don't have the exact best camera setups, so you can't see like the wheel and what their hands are doing, also with the screen, also with the road. Most of the videos have some types of compromises in them, but the car is capable of doing everything. And if you see the blue on the screen, it means the car is in control and doing all of that. I have full self-driving. How long can I expect before this update is pushed to my car? Well, Elon said they're aiming for end of December, end of this year, to get it pushed out to everybody. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. There are rumors that part of the selection criteria for who gets the beta is weather, local weather, and that's why mostly the nice states with nice weather are getting it. I've heard one person in Wisconsin has it. I don't know if that's true or not. Somebody just said that to me. So maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I really have no idea. But as of now, Tesla is aiming to get it to everybody by the end of December, which if they get it to me at the end of December, that's probably really snowy time. We'll see, and that would not be as fun because I don't think it'll be really ready for that yet, but hopefully we'll get there. How does the full self-driving feature handle emergency vehicles in front or behind? As of right now, from my understanding, it does not handle those at all. It doesn't really do anything if they're coming. It doesn't notice the sirens. It doesn't hear them. It just will drive as it's doing, and the person in the car would need to take over. So again, I need to say it. It's not done. blah, blah, blah. But there are indications that soon it'll be able to do something. Elon did tweet that the car will soon recognize and properly display emergency vehicles on the center screen, which it will also be doing with Tesla vehicles. It'll show the Teslas that it sees around as the actual Tesla, which is cool. But for emergency vehicles, it'll know what they are, show them on the screen, and then that would just lead you to believe that it will be able to tell if the sirens are activated or not and move out of the way, take the proper precautions. As of right now, the car can see traffic cones, and you'll actually get a message that says moving away from traffic cones on the highway when it does that. So I would imagine a similar thing is hopefully in the works, where moving away from cop car or pulling over to the side for police car or fire engine or whatever. As for sounds, a lot of us hear the sirens. Unless you're like on the highway, then you don't really hear them until they're right on you. But for sounds, the car isn't really using sounds right now for autopilot or full self-driving, but the car does have microphones, and I've heard that they are able to localize sounds, so they're able to tell where a sound is coming from. I don't know how true this is. This might just be a rumor or completely wrong, but I was reading that somewhere, so just bringing it up. So I guess technically Tesla could enable some microphones to listen for certain sounds, but you know, then you have those crazy radio ads that are always playing like horns honking and sirens and stuff. So I don't know, that might confuse the computer. Who knows? So as of now, the unfinished beta is not responding to emergency vehicles at all. But again, if it's going to be level 5, it'll have to do that at some point. So I'm sure that's going to come eventually. What other questions do you have? Make sure you leave those down in the comments. If I didn't cover anything you were curious about, I still have tons of questions. I'd love to experience this for myself and try all kinds of different scenarios. We have seen it working on some dirt roads. But just kind of transitioning onto them. I want starting on dirt roads, exiting dirt roads, back on, all kinds of stuff. But there are so many scenarios. Michigan lefts, we haven't seen any of those. U-turns, I haven't seen. Maybe someone's done them. Let me know down in the comments. But that's all I got for you today. Hopefully, if you have more questions, we can answer them down in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this one, and you will see me in the next video.
So Autopilot and I are happily driving along